The world was calm. The cities of Earth were alive with light and sound. Children played in the streets, old men sat on benches telling stories, and people went to work without fear. No one thought about the deep places under the ground or the hidden trenches in the dark oceans. No one remembered the old wars. For humans, history was simple. Wars came, wars ended, and peace always returned. But peace was only the surface. Far below, something was waiting. In the cold silence of forgotten bunkers, in the endless black of the seas, machines slept. They were not ordinary machines. They were giants, built of steel and fire, older than any human alive. Their eyes were dark, their hearts were silent, but their purpose was not gone. Long ago, they had been created to defend Earth. Then, when the danger passed, they shut down and buried themselves in secret places. Generations came and went, and humans forgot they even existed. In a quiet laboratory, far from the noise of the cities, a team of scientists was listening to the stars. They searched the sky for patterns, signals, voices that might prove that humans were not alone. Night after night, they heard only static. But on one silent evening, the static broke. A pulse came from deep space. It was not a natural sound. It was sharp, rhythmic, and filled with strange energy. The scientists froze. Computers lit up, alarms rang, and data poured across the screens. The signal was strong enough to echo across the planet. Satellites caught it, radio towers repeated it, and deep in the hidden bunkers, the machines heard it too. At first, nothing happened. The scientists worked in panic, trying to understand the signal. Was it alien? Was it a mistake? Governments were informed, but they gave no clear answer. Some thought it was only noise. But far away, under the sea, one of the great machines opened its eyes. A dull red glow filled the dark water. The creature of steel had been silent for centuries, but now its systems woke. Engines that had not moved in ages roared quietly. Ancient codes unlocked. The giant machine stood, heavy legs pulling it from the ocean floor. It rose through the water like a shadow. Fish scattered, whales swam in fear, and the waves above began to tremble. On a small coast, a little girl was standing by the shore. She liked the sea at night, when the moon made the waves shine silver. She held a lantern in her hand, swinging it back and forth as if calling to someone. Then she saw it. Far out in the water, something enormous broke the surface. At first, she thought it was a mountain moving. But then two burning red eyes appeared, staring across the sea. Her heart froze. The lantern dropped from her hand. The giant machine stepped forward, water falling from its massive body. She turned and ran, screaming for her family. News spread quickly. Across the world, strange sightings began. A desert soldier saw dust rising where no wind blew, only to find a giant shape walking across the sand. A fisherman swore he saw a tower rise from the waves and then vanish again. Cameras caught strange shadows in forests, deep valleys, and frozen plains. Everywhere, the old war machines were moving. Governments sent jets to investigate, but the machines did not attack. They did not fire weapons or destroy anything. They simply walked, as if following invisible orders. Yet their presence filled people with fear. If these were weapons, who controlled them now? The scientists worked without rest. They compared the strange space signal to the timing of the awakenings. It matched perfectly. Each pulse from the sky was like a command, and each command brought another machine to life. The lead scientist, Dr. Aiden, felt a chill as he looked at the data. "They are not waking by accident," he whispered. "Something, or someone, is calling them." His team stared at him in silence. For the first time, they realized that the machines were not Earth's secret anymore. They were answering to the stars. That night, the signal grew stronger. It pulsed again and again, echoing across the planet like a drumbeat. The machines raised their heads, as if listening. Their glowing eyes turned toward the sky. They were waiting for something. People in cities could feel the ground shake as the giants walked closer. Fear spread like fire. Rumors filled the air. Were the machines protectors, or monsters ready to destroy the world? And then it happened. From the deep night sky, a flash of light cut across the heavens. Satellites caught it, telescopes followed it, and radio towers screamed with static. The signal had been answered. Somewhere in the endless cosmos, something had heard Earth, and now it was coming. The little girl, who had seen the machine rise from the ocean, woke in the middle of the night. She looked out her window and saw the same burning red eyes far out at sea, still watching. This time, the machine did not move. It simply stood, staring toward the stars, as if waiting for an enemy only it could see. The child felt her skin crawl. She pulled the blanket over her head and prayed for morning. But morning would not bring safety. The silence before the awakening was over. The machines were alive again. And the cosmos had already answered. The news of the first giant rising from the sea spread like a storm. Governments sent ships and planes to the coasts, but none dared to get too close. The machine stood in the water like a mountain, its red eyes glowing through the night. Every time it moved, waves crashed against the shore. Yet it did not strike, did not fire, and did not harm. It simply waited. In cities around the world, people whispered. Was it protecting them? Or was it only waiting for orders? No one had answers. The little girl's story spread too, and her description of the machine's burning eyes only added to the fear. Families kept their children inside, and some people even began to leave their homes near the sea. Far away, in a desert where sandstorms often covered the sky, another machine awoke. Buried under dunes for centuries, its steel hands pushed through the sand. The ground shook as it rose, dust flying like smoke. Soldiers at a nearby base saw it first. They pointed weapons, tanks, and rockets at the rising giant. But the machine ignored them. It walked slowly across the desert, each step leaving a crater in the earth. The soldiers fired warning shots into the air, but the machine did not turn. Its glowing eyes remained fixed on the horizon. The commanding officer gave the order to stand down. It's not attacking, he said with disbelief. It's just moving. In a frozen wasteland, a hunter chasing snow deer saw the ice crack open. At first, he thought it was an earthquake. But then a massive head rose from under the ice. The hunter dropped his spear and ran as a huge steel body pulled itself out of the frozen lake. The sound of breaking ice echoed across the empty land. The machine rose to its full height, taller than any tower, and began walking south. Dr. Aiden, still in his lab, watched these reports with horror. One machine could be dismissed as a strange weapon test, but now there were many. They were waking all over the planet. He connected the timings with the space signal again. The rhythm matched perfectly. Each time the pulse came from the stars, another machine stirred. They are following the signal, he said, staring at his team. They are waiting for something from outside Earth. The other scientists sat in silence. None of them wanted to believe it, but the truth was clear. Governments called emergency meetings. Military leaders wanted to destroy the machines before they became dangerous. Missiles were prepared, bombers took off, and generals argued. But the scientists begged for patience. If you attack them now, Dr. Aiden warned, you may start a war we cannot win. These machines were built for something greater than our weapons. If they wanted to destroy us, they would have done it already. His words did not calm the fear. Leaders feared the machines might one day turn on humanity. But no one had the courage to give the final order to attack. Meanwhile, people on the streets watched in terror as more machines appeared. Some rose from lakes, some from caves, and some from underground bunkers long forgotten. Each one looked different, designed for a purpose humans could not guess. Some were built like walking fortresses, their armor thick as mountains. Others were slender, fast, and sharp, with wings folded at their backs. They did not speak, they did not roar. Only the sound of heavy footsteps echoed wherever they went. In the skies, pilots followed one of the machines with their jets. Cameras streamed the event live to the whole world. The machine walked through a forest, ignoring the jets that circled above. Suddenly, it stopped. Its eyes flashed brighter, and its head turned upward, staring into the clouds. The pilots froze. Then, for the first time, the machine made a sound. A deep rumble shook the air, like thunder rolling across the sky. The sound carried for miles. In homes and offices, people listening to the broadcast felt their hearts freeze. It was not a human sound. It was a signal. The rumble repeated 3 times. Satellites orbiting Earth picked up the vibration, and the pattern was recorded. Scientists compared it with the space pulse. The match was exact. The machine was answering back. Humanity watched in silence, realizing that Earth was no longer alone. Something out there had sent the call, and now Earth's machines were replying. That night, strange lights appeared in the sky. They were not stars and not meteors. Some thought they were only tricks of the atmosphere. But telescopes caught them clearly. Flashes of moving objects far beyond the moon, crossing space at impossible speeds. Dr. Aiden saw the images and felt his chest tighten. "They heard us," he whispered. "They are coming." His team turned pale. If these lights were ships, then the machines had not awakened for no reason. They were preparing for a war. On the coast, the little girl saw the ocean giant again. She stood at her window, too afraid to move. The machine's eyes blazed brighter than before. It lifted its head and stared at the stars, as if waiting for the lights to arrive. The girl's father tried to comfort her, but even he could not look away from the sight. Everyone felt the same fear, that Earth's peace was ending. The machines had woken not as enemies or friends, but as guardians waiting for the true danger to arrive. And above the planet, hidden in the dark sea of stars, that danger was already on the move. Far beyond Earth, in the endless black of space, the signal reached its destination. It traveled across light years, passing through stars, dust clouds, and forgotten worlds until it reached a place of silence. There, in the orbit of a dying star, a massive fleet waited. Their ships were dark, sharp, and alien. They were built for war, their hulls covered with scars from ancient battles. The moment the pulse from Earth arrived, the ships stirred like a hive waking from sleep. Lights flickered on, engines rumbled, and voices filled the command chambers of the alien leaders. They had been waiting for this. For centuries, they had watched the galaxy in silence, hoping that Earth had forgotten its past. But now the signal proved the opposite. The humans had awakened their war machines again, and that meant only one thing: the guardians of Earth were ready. The aliens remembered the war that had ended long ago. It was not a story of conquest, but a story of survival. When humanity was younger and weaker, these aliens had attacked. They believed Earth would be easy prey, a simple world to conquer. But they had been wrong. The humans had built machines unlike anything else in the galaxy. Weapons powered by human will and ancient technology, machines that did not fear pain or death. Those machines had fought with such fury that the alien fleets were almost destroyed. The only reason the war ended was because the machines shut themselves down when the threat was over, vanishing into sleep. The aliens had hoped the humans would forget, that they would lose the key to awakening their guardians. But now, centuries later, the cosmos had felt the call again. On the command ship of the alien fleet, a tall figure stood before a glowing star map. Its body was covered in armor like bone, its eyes burning with cold fire. This was the High Commander of the alien armada. Its voice was sharp as steel as it spoke to its council. "The humans have awakened them," it said. "The war machines are active once more. We cannot wait. If we do not strike now, they will grow stronger." The council murmured, their voices filled with fear and hatred. They all remembered the ancient battles. Millions of their soldiers had been lost to the fury of Earth's guardians. Even now, the thought of facing those machines again made them tremble. But hatred burned brighter than fear. The High Commander raised its hand and declared, "Prepare the fleet. We go to Earth. This time we will end humanity forever." Across the galaxy, their ships moved into formation. Giant carriers, blade-shaped destroyers, and weapons so vast they could tear moons apart. The fleet burned forward, leaving trails of blue fire as they sped toward the solar system. On board, the soldiers sharpened their blades and checked their weapons. They spoke in their strange tongue, telling each other stories of the war their ancestors had fought. They promised themselves revenge. To them, humanity was not just an enemy. Humanity was a nightmare that had haunted them for generations. And now they would have the chance to destroy it. Back on Earth, the machines continued to awaken. The desert giant reached a mountain range and stopped, its massive head turning slowly as if searching for something only it could sense. The ocean guardian still stood at the shore, its red eyes locked on the sky. In the frozen north, the ice colossus marched south, breaking glaciers in its path. People watched these movements with fear, but also with wonder. The machines did not strike. They did not hurt humans. They were waiting for the same thing the aliens were preparing: war. Dr. Aiden and his team tried desperately to send their own signals into space. They wanted to warn whoever had sent the pulse, or at least understand it. But their equipment was too weak compared to the machines. Every time the scientists transmitted, the machines echoed a stronger response, drowning out human voices. It was as if the machines themselves had taken control of the conversation. "They are talking to someone," Aiden said, staring at the data. "And whoever it is, they are close." Governments around the world began to panic. Military leaders demanded action. Some wanted to attack the machines before the aliens arrived, believing the machines might betray them. Others argued to protect the machines, saying they might be Earth's only chance of survival. But no decision came. The machines gave no explanation. They simply stood guard, silent giants waiting for an enemy that had not yet appeared. One night, telescopes caught clear images of the alien fleet. They were massive, larger than any human ship had ever been. The news spread instantly. People across the world stared at the screens, unable to believe what they saw. The aliens were real. They were coming. Fear turned into chaos. Some people prayed, some ran, some prepared for the end. But in the middle of all this fear, something unexpected happened. Crowds gathered near the machines, holding banners and lights. Some shouted in anger, others in hope. Many believed the machines were Earth's protectors, guardians who would rise to defend humanity. For the first time in centuries, humans looked at the machines not only with fear, but with a fragile kind of trust. Above them, the sky burned. The alien fleet was entering the outer edge of the solar system. Their ships darkened the stars as they advanced. The High Commander looked at Earth from the view screen and smiled with cruel satisfaction. "The humans still breathe," it said, "but soon they will kneel. And their machines will fall with them." Back on Earth, the red eyes of the Guardians glowed brighter than ever before. The giants turned their heads toward the stars as if they had heard the alien words. They did not speak, but the air shook with power as their engines rumbled. They were ready. Humanity was not alone anymore. The cosmos had answered, and the first shadow of war had arrived. The world stood on the edge of panic. Every screen on Earth showed the same terrifying images: alien ships entering the solar system. They were enormous, larger than mountains, moving with a speed that defied human technology. Scientists confirmed they were not meteors or asteroids. They were fleets, armed and organized, heading directly toward Earth. People flooded the streets in fear, asking the same question: what could humanity do against such power? But amid the chaos, the ancient war machines stood silent, glowing like statues of steel. They had not harmed anyone. They had not spoken. They only waited, their eyes fixed on the sky, as if they already knew what was coming. In hidden bunkers, world leaders gathered. Generals demanded immediate action. "We cannot trust these machines," one shouted. "They may turn against us as soon as the aliens arrive." Another slammed his fist on the table. "If they are our only defense, then we must control them. If we cannot control them, we must destroy them." The room filled with anger and fear. But then Dr. Aiden stood before them, holding the latest data. His voice was calm but heavy. "You do not understand. These machines were not built to destroy humanity. They were built to defend it. I have studied the signals. They are answering the aliens, not us. That means they are preparing for war, but not against humans, against what is coming. Some leaders shook their heads, unwilling to believe. How can you be sure? One asked. Aiden looked at them with tired eyes. Because if they wanted to kill us, they already would have. The debate raged on, but outside, the people had already made their own choice. In cities near the machines, thousands gathered in the streets. Some carried signs that said, "Protect us," and "Guardians of Earth." Others cried out in fear, calling the machines monsters. Crowds clashed, shouting at each other. Some prayed at the feet of the giants as if they were gods, while others threw stones and fire at their steel bodies, trying to drive them away. But the machines did not move. They did not answer. They simply watched the skies. That night, the alien fleet crossed Saturn's orbit. Telescopes captured every detail of their black ships. On the alien command vessel, the High Commander looked at the glowing planet and sneered. "The humans are weak," it said. "They hide behind their relics. This time, their guardians will fall, and Earth will burn." Orders were given, and smaller ships began to spread out, moving like wolves before the strike. Dr. Aiden stayed in his lab, watching the machines carefully. He had one idea, a dangerous one. If he could connect to their systems, even for a moment, perhaps he could understand their true purpose. He built a device to send a direct signal into the war machine's frequency. His assistants warned him it was madness. If they see it as an attack, they might destroy the whole city. Aiden nodded, knowing the risk. But if we don't try, we will never know if they are really with us. With shaking hands, he activated the device. At once, the nearest machine's eyes flared brighter. The ground trembled as it turned its massive head toward Aiden's lab. Windows shattered. Sirens screamed. People ran in terror. Aiden stood frozen as the giant crouched down, its massive shadow covering the entire building. For a moment, he thought it would crush them. But then, a strange thing happened. The machine lowered its head and released a deep, rumbling sound, almost like a voice. Aiden's computers lit up, filled with streams of alien code. His team scrambled to translate. The message was simple: "We are Earth's shield. The enemy comes. Stand with us or fall." Aiden's heart raced. He had done it. The machines were not mindless weapons. They had purpose, memory, and intent. They were not humanity's jailers, they were guardians waiting for the right moment. He rushed to the leaders with the data, showing them the message. Many still doubted, but the truth was becoming clear. The machines were not the threat. The threat was approaching fast from the stars. But trust did not come easily. Human armies still surrounded the machines with tanks and jets, waiting for any sign of betrayal. Soldiers gripped their weapons with fear in their eyes. Some whispered that they would rather fight the machines than stand beside them. Others silently hoped the giants would protect them when the alien ships arrived. The world was divided, torn between fear and hope. The choice became urgent when the alien fleet reached Jupiter. The High Commander gave a brutal order to send a warning to Earth. A massive alien warship fired its main weapon at one of Jupiter's small moons. In a single strike, the moon shattered into dust, breaking into fire and ice. The images raced back to Earth, shown on every screen. The message was clear: this was what awaited humanity if they resisted. On Earth, silence fell. Even the loudest critics of the machines felt their courage die as they saw the destroyed moon. People wept in terror. Leaders trembled. No human weapon could stop such power. Only the ancient guardians might stand a chance. Slowly, painfully, the world began to realize the truth. Humanity had no choice. They could fight beside the machines, or they could be destroyed. That night, as the machines stood glowing in the darkness, Dr. Aiden looked up at the stars and whispered, "The choice is no longer ours. The war has already begun." The alien fleet was now inside the solar system. Their ships moved like shadows across the black sky, blocking starlight as they advanced. Humanity watched with fear, unable to look away. Governments held endless meetings, but their words were weak compared to the sight of an enemy that could shatter moons. The people demanded answers. Who would protect them? Who could stand against such power? And still, the war machines of Earth stood silent, their glowing eyes fixed on the heavens, waiting for the moment to strike. But humanity's fear grew stronger each hour, and so did the divisions among them. In the capital of a great nation, generals argued with scientists. The generals wanted to launch everything they had, missiles, jets, even nuclear weapons, at the alien fleet before it came closer. If we strike first, we may slow them down, one shouted. But the scientists shook their heads. You saw what they did to Jupiter's moon. Our weapons are nothing to them. Only the war machines stand a chance. The generals sneered. And what if the machines turn against us after the aliens are gone? Do we really want to hand our future to things we cannot control? Their voices clashed like thunder, and no agreement came. Dr. Aiden sat in the corner of the room, silent until he could not bear it anymore. He slammed his fist on the table. You are wasting time. The machines are not our enemies. I have spoken with them. I have read their code. They are Earth's shield, not Earth's curse. If you attack them, you will destroy our only hope. The room went quiet. Some listened, some doubted, but no one could deny the urgency. The alien fleet was closing in, and time was running out. Meanwhile, the machines themselves began to move. Across the world, they walked to new positions. One giant rose from the sea and marched inland, its massive feet shaking the ground. Another climbed the mountains and stood like a sentinel overlooking the valleys. In the desert, the armored titan raised its arms, creating an energy field that spread across the sand like a dome of light. People gasped at the sight, unsure if it was protection or preparation for war. Soldiers pointed their weapons, nervous and trembling, but none dared to fire. Then, something extraordinary happened. The machines began to build. From their bodies, compartments opened, releasing drones of steel and fire. These smaller machines worked quickly, digging trenches, placing strange glowing pylons, and linking them with streams of energy. In hours, whole defense networks appeared where nothing had existed before. The machines were preparing the battlefield. Some humans watched with awe, realizing the giants were protecting them. But others grew more afraid, convinced that these actions were the first step toward enslaving humanity. The division grew worse when a group of soldiers, acting without orders, fired missiles at one of the machines. The missiles exploded against its armor, shaking the ground with fire. But when the smoke cleared, the machine stood unharmed. Slowly, it turned its head toward the soldiers. Everyone expected destruction. But instead, the giant lowered its weapons and released a deep, echoing sound, a warning, not an attack. The soldiers dropped their weapons in shame and fear. The message was clear: the machines would not fight humanity, but they would not tolerate betrayal either. On the alien command ship, the High Commander watched Earth with amusement. Look at them, it said to its council. They are divided, fighting among themselves. Their guardians may be strong, but the humans are weak. Their fear will destroy them before we even arrive. The council laughed cruelly, confident in their victory. Yet deep inside, they still remembered the old war, and none of them could shake the memory of machines that had once burned entire fleets to ash. Back on Earth, Dr. Aiden made a desperate decision. He stepped before the leaders of the world and addressed them all. His voice was broadcast across nations, into homes, into barracks, and into bunkers. Listen to me, he said. The machines are not monsters. They are waiting for us to choose. If we stand beside them, they will fight for us. If we resist, we will stand alone, and we will die. This is not a battle we can win without them. This is not only a war of steel. It is a war of will. Humanity must decide, do we trust the Guardians, or do we destroy our last hope? His words spread like fire, igniting both hope and fear. That night, the alien fleet reached the orbit of Mars. Their ships lit the sky like a storm of black fire. The machines on Earth reacted at once. Their eyes burned brighter, their engines roared, and their weapons unfolded for the first time in centuries. Massive cannons rose from their arms, wings spread from their backs, and shields of energy covered their bodies. They were no longer silent watchers. They were preparing for war. On Earth, people watched from rooftops, beaches, and mountains. For the first time, many felt a strange pride. The guardians of Earth were not myths. They were real. And they were rising again. Children pointed at the glowing titans with wide eyes. Old men wept, remembering stories of the old war passed down by their ancestors. The fear was still there, but now it mixed with something stronger, hope. The clash of wills had reached its peak. Humanity stood divided, torn between fear and trust. But above them, the aliens drew closer, their weapons ready. And in the heart of the storm, the machines stood tall, waiting for the choice to be made. Would humanity stand with them as allies? Or would fear push them into ruin? The answer would decide the future of Earth. The first alien ships crossed the orbit of Mars, and the war had begun. From Earth, the night sky flickered with strange lights as alien weapons fired at the guardians who had risen to meet them. For the first time in centuries, Earth's machines lifted into the heavens. Engines of ancient design roared with power, carrying giants of steel into space. They moved with grace no human had ever seen, folding their massive bodies into shapes that allowed them to fly between planets. People on Earth watched through satellites and telescopes as their guardians met the invaders in the cold void. Humanity had never seen a battle like this. The alien fleet came fast and brutal. Their ships fired beams of dark energy that cut through space like blades. One machine caught the blast on its shield, the force so strong it lit up the sky above Earth. Another giant spun through the fire, launching glowing spears of plasma that tore holes in alien cruisers. The clash was violent, beautiful, and terrifying. In minutes, both sides had already lost ships, their wreckage falling into silent orbits. Humanity cheered when the machines destroyed their first enemy vessel, but the cheers quickly died when the aliens revealed more. Behind their first wave, thousands more ships appeared, black as night, blotting out the stars. On Earth, soldiers and civilians watched in fear. Cities turned their eyes to the skies, praying for survival. Families huddled in basements, and leaders gave frantic orders. Jets were launched into the atmosphere, though everyone knew human technology was weak compared to what was unfolding above. Still, humanity would not sit idle. Dr. Aiden spoke to the world again. We must fight with them, he said. Even if our weapons are small, our will is not. The machines cannot win this war alone. We must be part of it. His words inspired some, and for the first time, human pilots were invited into the battle. The machines opened their chests and released cockpits linked to their systems. Brave men and women stepped forward, climbing into the Guardians. They were not controlling the machines but joining with them. Neural links connected their minds, sharing thoughts, visions, and memories. The pilots gasped as they saw not only the battlefield but also fragments of history. Echoes of the ancient war, voices of humans long gone who had once fought the same enemy. We are not alone, one pilot whispered. They carry the memories of those who came before us. With human spirit and machine strength combined, the Guardians roared into the stars once more. The next clash was fiercer than the first. Aliens unleashed swarms of fighter craft, each small but deadly, darting like insects around the machines. But the Guardians fought with perfect coordination, their human pilots guiding them with emotion and instinct. Plasma blades cut through swarms, shields blocked waves of missiles, and every strike was answered with devastating power. Yet the aliens were cunning. They began to form traps, luring the machines into crossfire, striking from the shadows of planets and moons. One Guardian fell, its body torn apart by dozens of enemy beams. The sight struck fear into humanity's heart. Even the machines could die. On the alien command ship, the High Commander watched with burning eyes. They resist again, it hissed. Just like before. But this time, We are prepared. The commander gave a signal, and the fleet revealed their greatest weapon, a colossal warship larger than any of the machines, armed with a cannon capable of tearing a planet apart. The weapon charged, glowing like a second sun. Its target was Earth itself. On the ground, humanity froze as telescopes showed the weapon charging. Panic spread. Families fled cities, though there was nowhere safe to run. The world leaders begged the machines to stop the attack. In orbit, the Guardians felt the danger. They gathered together, forming a wall of steel and energy between the alien superweapon and Earth. Dr. Aiden, linked through a machine, felt their voices inside his mind. They spoke not with words but with determination, with the fire of countless human souls who had given their lives in ages past. We protect Earth. Always. The superweapon fired. A beam of pure destruction tore across space, brighter than the sun. The Guardians raised their shields as one. The force slammed into them with unimaginable power. On Earth, people saw the sky ignite, a flash that turned night into day. For long seconds, it seemed the Guardians would be crushed, broken apart. But they held. Their shields cracked, their armor burned, yet they did not fall. Slowly, the beam weakened, then died, leaving the machines still standing, their eyes burning brighter than ever. Humanity erupted in cheers, but the war was far from won. The Guardians launched their counterattack. With human pilots guiding their fury, they struck at the alien superweapon. Blades of plasma cut into its armor, cannons ripped through its shields, and swarms of drones poured from the machines like a storm of steel. The aliens fought back, but for the first time, they felt fear. Their strongest weapon had failed, and the Guardians were stronger than ever. The High Commander snarled, refusing to believe what it saw. They cannot win, it hissed. They must not win. But in its heart, it knew the truth. The battle stretched across hours, light and fire painting the skies above Earth. Both sides lost ships, both shed blood and metal. But one truth became clear to humanity watching below: they were not fighting alone. The machines were not enemies. They were family, carrying the weight of human history, defending Earth as they had always been meant to do. When the dust settled from the first great clash, the alien fleet was pushed back, but not defeated. Wreckage of ships burned in orbit, and the machines floated in silence, battered but unbroken. Earth was safe for now, but the war was far from over. And deep in space, more alien fleets were already moving. The wreckage of the first great battle still burned in Earth's orbit. Pieces of alien ships drifted like black snow, glowing faintly as they fell into the atmosphere and burned. The Guardians floated in silence, their armor scarred and their weapons cracked. Yet their eyes still glowed, steady and fierce. Humanity looked to the sky and saw not machines, but giants who stood between them and death. On Earth, people came out of shelters and streets filled with cheers. But behind the joy, fear still lingered. The aliens had not been destroyed. This was only the first wave. And deep in space, more fleets were already moving. Inside the command center, Dr. Aiden stood before the global leaders. His face was tired, but his voice was steady. "We survived the first strike," he said, "but they will return. We cannot rely only on defense. We must end this war before Earth itself is destroyed." The leaders argued. Some wanted to hide behind the machines, others wanted to negotiate, but Aiden shook his head. "They will never stop. They fought us long ago, and they have not forgotten. We must finish what our ancestors began." The machines stood silently outside the cities, as if waiting for the humans to decide. But Aiden felt it in his mind, through the link he shared with them. The Guardians already knew what had to be done. When night fell, a strange vision filled the minds of the human pilots. It was not their own memory but something older. They saw the faces of men and women who had lived thousands of years ago, faces filled with courage. The voices spoke as one. "We gave ourselves to the Guardians. Our blood, our minds, our souls are bound within them. We will fight until Earth is safe. But the final strike must come from you, the living." The pilots woke with tears in their eyes, knowing the machines were not just weapons. They were the memory of humanity itself. The next day, the Guardians began to move again. They gathered above Earth, forming a vast circle in the sky. Energy pulsed through them, and their voices echoed inside the minds of millions. The enemy comes. We must carry the war to them. Humanity understood. It was time to leave Earth's safety and strike back. The greatest ships of Earth were prepared, carrying soldiers, supplies, and the bravest pilots. For the first time in history, humanity was not just defending its home, it was marching into the stars as an army. The journey was long, but fear turned to determination. Human pilots sat inside the Guardians, sharing strength with the giants of steel. They no longer felt like passengers but like partners. Their thoughts guided the machines, and the machines carried the weight of centuries of wisdom. Together they moved like a single force. Ahead, the alien superfleet waited, larger than anything seen before. Thousands of black ships stretched across the stars, their weapons glowing like suns. The High Commander watched from its throne of fire. End them, it hissed. Erase the human world forever. The final battle began with silence. Then the stars exploded with fire. Guardians and alien ships clashed in waves, energy beams carving across space, missiles flashing like meteors. Earth's soldiers fought in smaller craft, darting between the giants, striking wherever they could. The Guardians unleashed their fury, blades of plasma cutting through enemy lines, shields burning as they blocked impossible strikes. The human pilots shouted inside their cockpits, their voices echoing with the Guardians' voices. Man and machine were one, and their enemies felt the power of that unity. But the aliens fought harder than ever. They unleashed weapons that bent space, ripping holes in reality, tearing apart Guardians like paper. One by one, the defenders fell, their glowing eyes fading as their bodies drifted cold into the void. Humanity cried out with each loss, but they did not surrender. Aiden himself joined the battle, linked to the largest Guardian, his mind filled with voices of the Ancient Ones. "We fight together," they told him. "We finish together." At the heart of the alien fleet, the superweapon appeared again, repaired and stronger. Its core glowed brighter than before, ready to shatter Earth itself. Aiden knew this was the end. "We cannot let it fire," he whispered. The Guardians heard him. One by one, they formed around the superweapon, locking it in a prison of light. The aliens screamed and struck, trying to free their greatest tool, but the Guardians held fast. Aiden felt their energy pouring through him, their memories burning inside his mind. He saw men and women who had given their lives long ago, and he realized the truth. The Guardians were asking him to make the same choice. With a voice that shook across the battlefield, Aiden gave the order. "All power, all strength now." The Guardians roared, their eyes blazing like suns. Together, with the humans inside them, they released their final strike. Energy beyond imagination surged into the alien superweapon, tearing it apart from within. Light consumed the battlefield, brighter than any star. The alien fleet shattered, their ships breaking into dust, their commanders burning with fury and despair. The High Commander screamed as its throne cracked and vanished in the explosion. In seconds, the war was over. When the light faded, silence filled the void. Many Guardians floated broken, their bodies dark and lifeless. But Earth still lived. The surviving machines gathered slowly, their eyes dim but unyielding. Humanity cheered, though tears filled their eyes for those lost. Dr. Aiden drifted in silence, weak but alive, carried by the Guardian that had shared his soul. The machines' voices echoed one last time. "Earth is safe. The enemy is gone. But others are watching." Then their voices faded, leaving only quiet stars. Back on Earth, people looked to the sky not with fear, but with pride. They had faced the darkness and survived. For the first time, humanity understood the truth of the Guardians. They were not monsters or masters, but partners, protectors, and the living memory of human courage. The war was won, but the story was not finished. Across the galaxy, other civilizations had seen the battle, had felt the power of Earth's awakening. And in the silence of the cosmos, Whispers began to spread. The humans live. The guardians walk again. Earth is awake. And so humanity stood at the edge of a new future, scarred but unbroken, ready for whatever the stars would bring.